morning, everybody, and thanks for making the effort to get out of bed. I'm Oliver Ward from the CIBC London office, so if you want to come and give me a tip for Brexit sending the gold price up, I'm more than happy to accept. First off this morning, we've got Mr. Glenn Doverson from Millennium Minerals, so I'd just like to ask to take the stage. Mr. Doverson was appointed as Chief Executive Officer of Millennium Minerals in December 2014. He's a qualified mining engineer with more than 25 years' experience in the mining industry. His extensive track record in the gold industry in particular, having worked for a range of companies in the sector, including Barrick, Agincourt Resources, Sons of Gwalia, New Hampton Goldfields, Centaur Mining and Exploration, North Limited, Dominion Mining, Xstrata, Resolute Mining, and Newcrest. Mr. Doverson holds a Bachelor's of Engineering and Mining Engineering and Western Australian Quarry Management Certificate and a Master's in Mineral Economics from the Kalgoorlie School of Mines at Curtin University. Over to you.
Thank you very much. Yes, good morning. It's great to be here. This is actually my first opportunity to talk at Diggers, and probably the first opportunity for Millennium to be here as well. Today what we're going to talk about is our platform for growth, what we're doing in our business and what we're aiming for in the near future. Before I do that though, I just would like to talk about where we've come from in the last 18 months. So disclaimer, anyone that wants to read that in full, come to the booth, we'll give you a presentation. So over the last 18 months, when I took over as CEO in late 2015, our share price was around about 2 cents. Market cap was about $5 million. We had $37 million debt with banks and subordinated debt. We had no money in the bank, no money for exploration, and at the time the banks were really circling. The company was in a little bit of a problem at that point. Since that time, we've now eliminated debt completely. Our market cap is over $200 million. We've got $20 million in the bank. We've got an exploration spend this year of over $10 million. Guidance for production of 80 to 85,000 ounces. Strong cash flows, and the business really has turned around. That's all happened over an 18-month period. Our exploration effort we're putting forward now is fantastic. We're going to talk about that today. So far with our business, it really has been a great turnaround. And look, at the end of the day, what's the difference? Well, the gold was always in the ground. We've really changed our culture, changed our people, got a very committed team in place now. And for growth going forward, we're now very confident we're going to be able to grow this business for the long term and have Nullagine going for the next 5 to 10 years. Just a quick corporate overview. We've brought a new director onto our board, Tim Kennedy. He was a general manager for exploration with the Independence Group, and we wanted that expertise on site because we now are in that stage where exploration is very important to our business. Growth is really where we're focusing on. There is the M&A opportunities, but we believe our internal growth within our current leases is where this business is going to grow over the next couple of years. So what I'm going to talk today about is 4 pillars of our growth strategy. The operations, our people infrastructure, brownfields resource development, and also the fresh ore development. So just looking at the operations, for the ones that don't know, Nullagine gold operation is our flagship operation. Well, it's actually our only operation. It's about 185 k's north of Newman. It's in the East Pilbara Mineral Province. We have over 200 square kilometres of ground, which is in the Mosquito Creek Formation. Mosquito Creek Formation is a little bit different from the iron ore formation. It's a sedimentary basin, archean in nature, and it has a lot of that opportunity for gold, and it's predominantly gold in that particular area. Production so far this year, 45,000 ounces, all-in sustaining costs of $11.93. You can do the mathematics. We're actually making pretty good money. First half of this year, $17.1 million in cash. And as we said, we're putting a fair bit of money, over $10 million this year, into exploration. Guidance for this year, again, is at 80 to 85, around that $11.80 to $12.20 an ounce. Why our operations go so well, it's not only just the people, but it's and it is a relentless focus on our efficiency and our costs. To some degree, we've been very lucky with the iron ore industry and the Pilbara sort of dropping off. We've really had a strong opportunity to leverage that market condition with our suppliers. So we've been able to actually reduce our costs significantly. Also, the geological understanding of our ore bodies. As we mine these things, we start to understand more, and the complexity. Generally speaking, though, it's not very complicated. We're talking about shear-hosted quartz intrusive rocks, very, very similar to the Eastern Goldfields. Nothing complicated here. So now that we do understand that, we're really in a really strong position now to be able to explore our belt and get the maximum value. Very strong focus on cost control, and I know everyone says that, but we actually do look at every cost in our business, right up to the major contractors and major contracts, right down to the cost of photocopying. We don't muck around. We actually look at every opportunity to reduce our costs, and we continue to do that. And I think that's one of the advantages and where we've actually turned this business around, reducing our costs. In 2015, we actually wedged over $14 million out of our costs compared to 2014 and produced an extra 15,000 ounces in the same time. So looking at our people and infrastructure, the infrastructure, new 1.9 million tonne per annum CIL plant. It was constructed in 3 years ago for $89 million. It's new. It operates very, very efficiently. We've got very good infrastructure, good camp, access roads, power station, reticulation. Everything is there all along right through this region, and I think the Iron Ore Boys actually helped us out a lot because infrastructure for us has been much easier. We've been able to wedge ourselves on the back of a lot of that infrastructure, and it definitely has helped our business, and also access to Nullagine has made it much easier. All the tenements are now 100% owned, and pretty important that heritage and native title are all in control. Our approval processes are very, very quick. One of the big advantages for us with the infrastructure, we can start drilling in an area and within 12 months we'll be mining that. So not only is it about getting the drilling, the resources, the modelling, the optimisations, the approvals, it's all very, very quick. The infrastructure is all in place. All we need to do is do the drilling and we're going to be able to get these mines up and running very, very quickly. We're also looking at a scoping study to look at how we're going to process some of the fresh ore. Some of the areas within the Nullagine region has, if you want to call it semi-refractory, it's pyrite hosted, it's not complicated, it's not rocket science. We know that there is simple solutions to this, and we're intending to make sure that we maximise the value of Nullagine. So we're underway with that study. We believe by the end of the year we will have a solution to be able to process all of the fresh ore within that region. Going on to our people, pretty important, and I know everyone says they got great people in the organisation. If people have got great people, we've got exceptional. We've got a very, very strong team, committed, passionate. Our mining manager and process manager are both women. We've got a great diversity within our organisation. Gives us the opportunities there to make sure that we get good ideas. We really believe in letting people have an opportunity to come up with great ideas, and I think that's, again, a part of our business, a part of our growth strategy, and it's pretty important to us. Going through the brownfields resource development, so late in 2015, after a capital raising, we were able to pull our debt down. Our banks allowed us to start to exploration drilling, and this is really brownfields. This is the sort of areas 50 metres below surface, is looking at the oxide sources. It's all near mine, it's all shallow. Very quickly we can develop these open pits. We programmed 110,000 metres for this year. We're actually already up to about 120,000 metres so far, and we're going to continue and most likely double that over the next 6 months. Pretty much immediate success. So we decided to reissue our reserves in the end of March. So after effectively 4 months of drilling, we were able to bring another 51,000 ounces into the reserve. Pretty important to understand that we have to bring these things on early, and we just wanted to show to the market that yes, there is more gold in this ground, and we brought those reserves on. Since that time, we're obviously developing new resources, new reserves, and there is going to be a new statement out at the end of September, again showing an increase in reserves. In the same time, we're obviously consuming over 90,000 ounces of production and producing that gold in that same period of time as well. So just looking at the brownfield resources, we have 40 kilometres of an area just north of what we're calling the Middle Creek Fault. All the projects and prospects we're looking at the moment are pretty much aligned with that fault, within 100 metres or a kilometre north of the Middle Creek Fault. Very simple geology, shear hosted, quartz intrusions. Most of the ground, or good 50% of the ground, is outcropping. Geochem signature's very, very strong. We know where the gold is, and we're continuing to drill and develop these prospects. One of the things that's always interests me here is that it reminds me very much 25 years ago when I was working in the Eastern Goldfields around Kalgoorlie, north of Kalgoorlie, Morgans, Leonora. It was all chasing these little oxide sources. Well, that was 25 years ago, and there's still a lot of mines going after all of that time. We actually believe that we're only touching the top of this, we're only scratching the surface. The Middle Creek Fault and Mosquito Creek Formation is over 2 kilometres thick. Geologically, there is no reason the gold won't continue. We know it will. Ultimately, we just want to find out what the grade and width are and see how economic it's going to be. So this is really just starting, and it's pretty exciting to say, well, this is the first time any public company has had this whole belt at once, and we're just starting to develop this now. As we said, it was an upgrade in April. Great results, unbelievable results to be able to convert from starting drilling these brownfield sites to get them into resource and get them into reserve in less than 4 months. We're going to continue to do that. We've got over 30 known prospects now. We're probably focusing on about 10 to 11, 12 and start focusing on those. What we have got is around about 5 different mining camps. We're trying to get reserves up in one particular area, so when we bring the fleets in there, they can actually mine them all at the same time. So it is a lot of work. We've got a very strong team, absolutely committed, and to some degree, this is production line. The geologists are starting to map, and as I said, they're mapping, doing geochem. We'll be mining those areas within 12 months. When we start having a look at some of the results, and these are just some of the results that we got in the last quarter, and can't quite read off this screen, but some of the results, and there was 10 areas that we were actually focusing on, so there was 10 prospects, 12 metres at 8 grams, 4 metres at 43, 22 at 3, 7 at 3.5, 6 at 10. It just goes on and on. It's absolutely been amazing what we've started to find. So all of these 10 prospects probably this year sometime will actually convert into resources. We've actually got 10 out of 10 so far. Of those, we're pretty confident that at least 7, maybe more, will actually turn into reserve. So all of a sudden, we've already started on our first 10, first 11, and we're already getting fantastic results. And they're great numbers too. So we're going to continue on. We know we've got to continue drilling. We're going to probably put more money in this year, not because we're not finding anything, it's just because we're not actually being able to close anything off. So every time we do another program, we're actually finding more. We've got to continue on with that. Probably sometime early next week, there'll be another announcement of some of the other assays that are just coming through now. And again, it's all very exciting. It's amazing what we're finding. And this is just in the first 50 metres of the Nullagine region. So we're just touching the top here. The other part of our strategy is having a look at the fresh ore development. Our belief is that ultimately these structures do go deeper, and so we've actually started a deep hole drilling program. And when we talk about deep hole, we're not talking 200, 300, 400 metres. We're actually talking 90, 120 metres. So it's not deep for many people, but for us, it actually is. So we wanted to know whether or not these things continue. There's very little drilling that was done ever in the past, even at that sort of depth. The other part of this was to make sure that we get some good data to understand what sort of metallurgical issues we might have, and therefore have that solved by the time we drill these out. Again, we already have around about 12 million tonnes of fresh ore. Majority of that we can process now, but there is some of that material that we might class as semi-refractory. It's got pyrite hosted, a little bit of arsenic from here and there. Very patchy though. We're starting the scoping study to work out how we're going to get the solution. As I said, it's not complex. Everywhere in the goldfields has the same problem. There is a simple solution. We know there's going to be a simple solution. Worst case, we might have to do a float and then a regrind, but we will work that out. And ultimately then that will bring a lot of that material back into our reserve, and also then opens up this goldfield for the long term. It has a significant potential to increase mine life. And I think for us, the kicker is we can get these oxide sources, we can continue to do that. We can pull another 3 to 5 years of mining out of these oxide sources as a minimum. What we want to do is to be able to bring in these more fresher materials, the higher grade materials, and then that will actually be able to increase our grades. And if we can increase our grades, obviously our gold production will increase as well. Currently we run around about 1.7 grams per tonne to produce 90,000 ounces. If we get up to about 1.9, we'll be able, average grade, we'll be able to produce over 100. If we can get an average of 2 grams, when we get around about 110. So it is all about grade. We've obviously got the supply in the oxide. Now we need to get the grade in the more fresher material, the deeper material, to supplement that grade. So we started in the first area. So we've actually picked a couple of prospects just to have a look underneath the current ones. One is called Middle Creek Mining Camp. It's about 10 kilometres in length. You can see where some of the prospects are, and you can see the lack of drilling underneath all of these things. There's gaps everywhere. So we've actually just started to pick a couple of these and start to have a look. The first program started in about the 4th of July, and the first lot of results have come out. We've continued to drill. We're now drilling under another prospect. We're actually drilling, putting in diamond tails to understand the lithology. So it is actually starting to look really, really great. Again, we started drilling at Barton's. These are the first 4 holes we drilled. We know the gold's there. What we didn't know is how it was the thickness and what sort of grade we're talking about. So the first 4 holes, and when you look at the high grades, 1 metre at 5, 2 metres at 39, 2 metres at 23, 1 metre at 18, 1 metre at 13, the gold's definitely there. So great start. So what we're doing now, we're actually going to put another fence underneath this current program, about 40 metres down, and we're going to start chasing these things to depth and just see what sort of grades and intersections we're getting. Amazing start. First, again, the first pit underneath that we're starting to drill, and again, really great success. What was actually quite amazing, we always knew there was 2 lodes, a hanging wall lode, but we weren't targeting because up high the grades weren't overly great. But it looks like now we've actually hit the hanging wall lode. We're talking about a metre at 60 grams, pretty good grade. So it looks like now that there's actually 2 lodes there. So again, very, very good results. Might be a little bit small to see. Come around to the booth and you can grab a presentation to have another quicker look at it. The next one we're looking at is shearers. We've actually started drilling this week. Again, nothing at depth. Some great grades at the lower ends, but we're going to drill under shearers. Again, we're pretty confident the gold's there. The question is, how thick is it and what sort of grades we're talking about. The possibility that these things could go down 1 or 2 kilometres, I think is amazing and exciting. That this is only the start. a deep drilling program down to 120, 150 metres just shows the opportunity. All of the prospects that we have and all the pits we've already mined, they do not stop, they do not peter out. They go into fresh material, and most of the oxide pits do stop about 50 metres down, and the opportunity for a lot of these to go underground or to get larger pits is significant. So looking at the key takeaways, we've got a great operation. We're producing 80 to 85,000 ounces a year, got our costs in control, great people on site. We've got the people now to actually be able to build and grow our company forward. We've got that strong platform for growth. The exploration upside is amazing. We just have got so many areas that we're targeting at the same time. And again, as I said, we've just started this, scratching the surface. Initial upgrade in April was really successful. We're going to continue drilling. We're getting the cash flow now, so it's all being generated from cash flow. We'll be able to produce that cash flow, 90,000 ounces, 1,200, so there's some pretty good cash going to be made. Great for our share price. We have had a little bit of a run, but ultimately we think we're only starting this one. So we're pretty confident now that we've got Nullagine in control. We've got a lot of opportunity for growth. And look, to be totally honest, in 10 years' time, I think there'll be someone standing up here, probably not me, still talking about Nullagine. So this is just the start of a pretty long journey and pretty exciting journey at that. So, thank you.
Thanks very much for that. Is there any questions in the audience? We have a microphone down the front, please.
Hi Glenn, just a very quick three. Firstly, what would the recoveries fall to in the fresh if you don't do anything to the plant? Secondly, is the semi-refractory bit all of the belt or just part of it? And if so, which part? And lastly, does the refractory nature increase with depth?
Okay, so I think what we're looking at, and I'll probably ask question 2 and hopefully it'll answer most of those. What we do know, in the Golden Eagle pit, which was our flagship pit, that was where we started to find this refractory nature. Surprisingly, it's only in very small patches. So we've got some, there's certain patches that are arsenopyrite rich, but it's actually very segmented. What we don't fully understand is why they're there and why they're not in other places. So in some of the areas, we're probably getting 50% recovery. In some of the other areas in fresh, we're getting 90% recovery. Initial bottle rolls of Bartons came back at 95% recovery. Nothing wrong with it whatsoever. So what this test work is and what a lot of this drilling is to fully understand where the issues are going to be, so we can either target other areas or we can actually target those areas to come up with those solutions. What we do know in the belt, generally speaking, is that around Golden Eagle, which is right to the east, is probably the more problem. Geologically, it looks like there was a different event occurred, possibly earlier than the rest of the belt. As we go east, there seems to be a lot less issues with that refractory nature. In Bartons, as an example, the drilling shows there's pyrite, there's arsenopyrite, but all the gold is free. So there's actually no gold in that material. So this is where the challenge is we've got 40 Ks of belt. We've got to understand metallurgically what is actually going on, and this is why we're doing the deep drilling, plus to understand these extensions. The test work is going to show how we're going to solve all these. Now, some of them may not be fully solvable, but some of them may have to finish up as a con. But the majority of this material will probably be just some sort of float and regrind, or maybe just a regrind. So I hope that sort of answered your questions.
Thanks. I think in the interest of time, we should probably leave it there at questions, if that's okay.
That's fine with me.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.